called George and the Big Red Ball. There once was a little girl named Alexia who loved her grandmother very much. Alexia always enjoyed spending time with her grandmother and visited her often. Alexia's grandmother lived at the top of a beautiful mountain where Alexia loved to play outside. One day, Alexia arrived at her grandmother's house to find a surprise waiting for her there. Alexia's grandmother was presenting her with a gift. It was a big red ball. "Oh, I love it, grandmother. Thank you," she nearly shouted with excitement. "I'm so glad you like it, and you are very welcome," her grandmother responded. With her grandmother close by, Alexia spent the entire morning bouncing the ball in the garden. Around noon, Alexia's grandmother said, "It's time to go inside for lunch, little one." "Oh, can't I play just a little while longer?" asked Alexia. "I must go in to make lunch," said her grandmother, "but I suppose you can play for a while longer if you stay here in the garden. You must promise not to leave the garden." "Yes, grandmother, I promise not to leave the garden," Alexia declared, and she continued playing. Shortly after her grandmother went into the house, Alexia's big red ball rolled down the mountain. "Oh no, my ball!" she shouted. Afraid to lose her big red ball, Alexia ran down the mountain, chasing it. She ran down the mountain as fast as she could. Too fast, in fact. As she neared the place where the ball had stopped, she tripped and fell. Alexia held her hurt ankle and began to cry. Nearby, a small garden snake heard the crying little girl and slithered over to see if she was okay. As he poked his head out from the grass, Alexia shrieked, "Ah, a snake!" "Do not be afraid," said the snake. "I am a friendly snake." "You can talk?" asked Alexia. "Yes, I am George, the talking snake. It is nice to meet you. But what is your name?" asked George. "I am Alexia," the little girl explained. "It is nice to meet you too." "Why are you here alone, Alexia? The mountain can be a dangerous place for a little girl all by herself, you know," George warned. "My grandmother lives on the top of this mountain. I was playing in the garden when my ball rolled down the mountain, so I chased after it," explained Alexia. "Surely your grandmother would not want you to be here alone?" asked George. "Well, no, she would not." Alexia remembered the promise she made to her grandmother and felt badly for breaking her promise. George told Alexia that it was very important to listen to her grandmother and that she should return so her grandmother would not be worried. After saying their goodbyes, Alexia picked up the big red ball and walked back up the mountain. In the garden, her grandmother sounded scared as she called Alexia's name. Upon seeing Alexia, she exclaimed, "There you are! Where have you been? You scared me, Alexia. You promised to stay in the garden." "Yes, grandmother. I am sorry for breaking my promise. I know that you asked me to stay in the garden because the mountain is not safe on my own. From now on, I will stay in the garden if you are not with me, and I will not break a promise ever again." Seeing that Alexia was not hurt and had learned a valuable lesson, her grandmother hugged her and took her in for lunch.